Hey students, again with Module 1, this pertains to your public interest discussion. Yeah, admittedly, it was a little oversimplified, and that was intentional. It was deliberate. I didn't want to stifle innovation. I wanted to hear what you guys had to, say about public interest. What is public interest? If you recall, we're talking about the hypothetical scenario where you have a church, an existing church, and local government wants to, permit a parking lot for a local business. So the trade-off is, do you allow this church to continue that's supposedly not paying taxes, or have them relocate, and now you've got a business and they pay property taxes. So, on the one hand, you've got something that, what is it? I think I put it in here. The church represents like the fabric of the community. They offer social services, whereas, business offers, revenue potential for the local government. Dana Allison wrote, she kind of led the charge there. You have to take in consideration what community you live in. Okay, thank you very much for your comment there, Dana. And I think that was pretty much widely shared sentiment. Most people said, hey, it depends. That's a nice, safe answer. Understood. I wrote this sentiment as primary consideration. However, remember, the public includes all members of a community, not just a majority. According to the Constitution, we're guaranteed a Republican form of government, meaning that it's a government based on laws designed to consider all members of society, not just the majority. Most people think this, but it's there to also protect the minority, right? Let me see here. I wrote, parking lot, church, what their pros and cons are. Problem as written evokes a political response, right? What does the community want versus what does the community need? Now, Matthew Clapp wrote, and I think I mentioned this in my previous video as well, I do think the government needs to serve the needs of the public over theirs. Are there really two sets of needs? Okay. Can there be two different needs? Do the needs, the public versus the needs of the government? Well, I guess in certain situations there is, If people aren't engaged with their government, then sure. You've got private individuals, they've got their own concerns, things that affect them, versus the government, the collective says, well, actually, we need this road, we need this revenue stream, whatever. Okay, good job there, Matthew. I agree that there could be, two separate needs. Diana Sanchez wrote, it's important to take into account that in most cases, eminent domain is disproportionately used against minorities and poor people. Okay, I'm not going to argue that point, but it does raise the question as to protecting the rights of the minorities. If there's I know in my other course that I'm teaching this semester, PD 4803, Issues in Urban Administration, we talk about that specifically, urban renewal, where, minority or underserved communities, they're the odd man out. They always, get evicted from their homes, whereas they're not going to be, plowing through Windermere for a new road. It costs too much. That's kind of the justification local government uses. Why would we take this $1 million house when we could take $1 million entire, community that every parcel in there equates to about $1 million? It might be a lot cheaper, right? But there again, it kind of is suggesting that maybe the needs of the minorities are going to get trampled. And again, I will reiterate that that's why we live in a Republican form of government. It's to protect all people's rights, right? What did I put down here? Tyler Buse wrote, another option is consulting with the church's leaders to see if repositioning would be possible. I like that too. That's good. Talk across the fence. This is a planning concept. Before you go and say, let's say a person wants to rezone their property, or they want, like I'm a homeowner here in Southeast Orlando. Let's say I want to convert my garage into a mother-in-law suite and start renting it out, or make it into a duplex. Well, maybe I'm not zoned for that. I could go before the zoning board and say, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to put this in motion. Well, you could do that as a landowner, but a lot of times, like I said, talk across the fence. Talk to your neighbors. Say, hey, this is what I have in mind, because their property values are going to be impacted as well. And so, in the situation with the church versus the parking lot, maybe the church would be willing to move. Admittedly, it like I said, I pointed out, could be the fabric of the community, but maybe they get a better deal. They could still be in existence. The community, kind of mitigates some of the tensions with the community. They could sell it from the inside, and then the local government still is able to permit that business to have their parking lot, right? So that's a lot of the takeaways that I want. I wanted to just stimulate that conversation and say, hey, what do you do when you have a tough decision like that? Public interest. What is the public interest? Well, it depends, right? Anyway, good job. I liked all your comments. On to the next.